Hello again, and welcome to your Hatha Yoga practice. Today, a really special class where I'm joined by my father, Francisco, and we're going to lead you through a Hatha Yoga session that incorporates generally a full range of motion throughout the body, and then we'll take that warmth and that movement into the shoulders and upper back specifically to mobilize and strengthen and stretch that part. So when you're ready, I would invite you today to come to a resting position on your back with the option of putting your feet up on something. So if you have a chair or a couch, as my dad is going to demonstrate here, this can be a really nice way. And you might even want to scoot a little bit closer to your support for the legs, for the lower legs, so that your knees are resting right about above your hips. And so that your back can extend nice and long. Especially in your lower back, you want to feel a sense of spreading out and spreading long on the floor. You can even use your hands to adjust your pelvis and broaden the base if that feels good. And then also make sure that your head and your neck are right in line with the center of you so that your neck feels free and open on all sides, sometimes tucking the chin a little bit closer to the chest. We'll bring it right at that level of your forehead, or even a little bit closer to your heart than that. If you're wearing glasses, you might want to take them off if that's more comfortable. Just put them to the side where you'll remember them. And fine-tune your comfort in this initial relaxation so that for the next few minutes, you can just settle and arrive in your space, in your body, taking deep breaths in, always through the nose. And if it feels good, breathing out the nose or the mouth, even sighing, it's a nice way to hear the release of tension from your body and from your mind. If you notice any areas in the body that seem stiff or tired, maybe a little bit hard feeling, or there's some tension there, see if you can just observe how that feeling changes with the next few breaths. And use your exhalations to actively encourage that part of the body to soften and release tension into the floor, or maybe into the support of your chair. Once you feel like you've arrived in your body and your mind has begun to slow down, allow your full attention to rest in the natural rise and fall of your breath. So at first, just observing your natural breathing without trying to change it or control any aspect. Let go of any judgment or any stories you might think of as you observe your breath. And instead, see if you can become a little bit more neutral, a passive observer of how you are breathing right now, right here. I love this pose. especially at the beginning or ends of the day when the body may be still cold after waking up, or maybe quite stiff after holding positions from work or other activities, or any time when you need just a little bit of extra support. It's a really nice way to support your lower back gently. The bend in the knees will also encourage a softening through the pelvis and the hips, and this may allow you to release some of the tension of your deeper abdominal muscles connected to that base that supports all of our mobility. So bring your attention back to your natural breathing. And when you're ready, we're going to start to lengthen and deepen the breath. If you like, you can keep your hands resting by your side, or it can also be nice to bring them to your belly with your elbows resting on the ground, just allowing your hands to give you that first feedback of the rise of each inhale and the way the belly falls with each exhale. See if you can concentrate and expand your awareness of breathing in this part of the body, the lowest part of your breathing room. And take 3 more breaths like this. And at the end of your 3rd exhalation, we're going to start to lengthen and deepen the breath more, now moving up into the first ribs, the lowest ribs of the body. So you can do this with your hands also resting on those first ribs, moving them up. As your breath begins at the bottom of the pelvic floor, and the diaphragm contracts to create more space for the lungs. The breath will move from the bottom through the middle part of the body, noticing the way the ribs spread open and lift. And as you exhale, if your fingers are resting on the ribs, you'll feel the way they knit together, condensing and releasing the breath completely. So please remember to move at your breathing rhythm and never forcing the breath here. Just opening up a little bit more. And if at any time your breath becomes forceful or difficult in any way, please just listen to your body, back off, take it easy, and maybe just return to your normal breathing. For these last 3 breaths in the bottom and especially middle part of your breathing room, see if you can direct your attention to the back side of your body as well, the space just around the kidneys and a little bit above. We're going to be working as we build to the fullest expression of yogic breathing to breathe in a 360-degree range, the whole torso, breathing with you. So at the end of your next exhale, and when you're ready, you're going to now take your fullest comfortable breath, starting at the bottom, through the middle of your breathing room, all the way up into the top area, even just above the tips of the lungs, where your collarbones are. So if you'd like to move your fingertips now to the collarbones, you may or may not feel movement here, just depending on how deep your breath is and how easy the expansion in the body right now. Wherever you are, take your time with each exhale to release the breath completely. And to begin each inhale calmly from the bottom, moving through the middle, and finally letting the breath reach up into the topmost part of your breathing room, perhaps a gentle lift in the collarbones. And always a smooth, easy and full release of each exhale out. As you're resting here in your full yogi breathing, again, see if you can be aware of the almost cylinder-like quality of your torso and breathing room, as if you were a balloon filling up from the bottom and expanding out in all directions as you make your way to the top of the breath. Perhaps a gentle pause in that fullness, and always releasing it calmly, gently, letting the breath be a smooth, continuous flow out. And we'll finish with 3 more of your fullest, comfortable yogi breaths. At the end of that 3rd exhalation, please return to your natural breathing. And just take a moment again in your supported resting position to observe your body and how you're feeling. And then also notice your natural breathing, paying a special attention if there's anything that has changed or anything that you weren't able to notice at the start of your practice today. Great. So from here, if you're in a supported position with your legs up, you're going to come off of your support and down onto the mat. We're going to stay on our backs at first. If you need your glasses, good time to put those on. And you may want to take off your extra layers if you were using some extra heat, or we're going to get the socks off soon when we get standing. We come to the middle of your mat, resting with your back flat on the ground. And again, you're going to bring your knees up over your hips. We're just going to mimic that tabletop position from before, but now without the support of your chair or whatever you might have been using. So again, make sure your lower back feels like it's spacious, like your tailbone is moving away from your head. So we'll encourage that extension in the lowest part of the back. And then we're also going to turn on the support from the lower abdominal muscles in the front. So as you hold your legs here in tabletop, as you exhale, I want you to imagine like you are tightening your belt. And you're going to squeeze these muscles into the body. The navel will pull down towards your spine. And these are these transverse abdominal muscles engaging a little bit. And let's see if you can hold that engagement as you now take another inhale, an easy, natural breath. And on your next exhale, go ahead and release that engagement and just feel the difference. So this is already a nice foundation for some activation in your core. And whenever we add some movement or any difficulty, any further level of that, you want to make sure you support the lower back by engaging your core. So that cinching of a belt action is a nice way to do that. So keeping your knees right where they are, I'm going to try to keep the knees also very stable here. We're going to start with some toe taps. See if you can spread your toes as you inhale. And as you exhale, without moving the right knee very much, you're just going to lower the toes towards or all the way to the floor. Very good. Doesn't matter if they touch, but we really want to focus on that stable knee and that strong support of the core, lifting up on an inhale. And on your exhale, you're going to lower the left toes to or towards the floor. So this is about moving with your breath. and moving in a range such that you're able to maintain a full, easy breath coming up on an inhale. And we're just going to start alternating, moving from the right on your exhale, lowering, coming up on the inhale, and then lowering on the left on your exhale. Again, moving as slowly or quickly as works for your breath and your body today. Now, of course, the knees are going to move a little bit while you do that. So just do your best to keep them stable, connecting through that core support and the floor. So we're working on just an easy gliding motion through the knees. Do one more like that on both sides, on each side. Then we're going to see what it's like when we put both legs together after that. When you come back up to your parallel tabletop position, make sure you engage those lower abdominal muscles. The back is long, and only lower both toes to or towards the floor as long as you can maintain that support and that extension in the lower back. Coming up on an inhale, and then on an exhale, squeezing your legs into your body. Give yourself a hug. Feel free to even breathe with a sigh out the mouth. It's another nice way to release tension. Lovely. And from here, you're going to take your knees together in your hand, bringing them either to touch, or if they don't touch easily, if that's uncomfortable, just keeping them moving towards each other with your hands. And then start to circle your knees using your hands. The goal here is to really feel the connection of the floor or your mat with your lowest part of the back. So the sacrum, the area just above the tailbone. And the sacrum is kind of like this triangular bone. It's really a couple of bones fused together, and it's got some corners and some edges. So on your next circle, I want to see if you can really feel all of the corners around the sides, and then pause. And then you'll try those circles in the other direction. Sometimes surprising how just changing direction can really change a lot more than that. You may notice a sensation much more or maybe less in one direction or the other. But again, see if you can find the edges and the corners of all of the sides of that part of your lowest back, the sacrum. In general, this part is really the base that supports lift and extension in the rest of the back. So we really want to make sure that we have awareness here and that we feel that part of the back moving into the body to support the rest of the spine. Pausing after your next circle, and then go ahead and lift both of your legs as long as you can, feet towards the ceiling. And it's quite all right to bend your knees here. In fact, it's much better to bend your knees if that feels better in your lower back. You want to keep your upper leg, so the thigh, the hamstrings, as vertical as you can. So as close to the 90-degree angle with the floor as works for you, but bend the knees as much as you need to. Again, spread your toes here. And you can keep your hands on the floor for a little extra support. Just try to make sure your shoulders also stay relaxed, head relaxed. And we're going to lower the legs down now, the whole leg, one at a time. So on an inhale, reach out through both legs, through the bottom of your feet as you spread your toes. And as you exhale, we're going to lower the right leg down a little bit. It could be halfway, a third of the way. Try to keep that left leg vertical with the upper leg and keep the right leg off the floor. And as you inhale, come back up. Again, engaging your core and lifting the leg. And on your exhale, we're going to lower the left leg down. Keep your right leg lifted, toes spreading. And it doesn't matter how far you go, but you want to move in a range where your back feels good and where you can feel your core turning on. We'll keep going like this. Exhaling, lowering the first side a little bit. Remember to bend the knee as much as you need to. and keep that foot off the floor. Second side on your exhale, lowering down. Spread those toes. And inhale, brace your core, pulling those hip bones towards your center. Do one more time on each side. And it's quite all right if the range of motion is very small today or different from how it usually feels for you. Just notice that. And move with your breath in a way that allows you to feel your body, and especially those parts that are waking up. So now we're going to try one more time, but with both legs together. Make sure your neck also feels long and relaxed, shoulders heavy, the lower back is extended, and on an exhale, you're going to lower both legs in the direction of the floor. They don't need to touch it, and you can bend the knees, and inhale, come back up. Let's do that one more time, just for fun. Exhaling, lowering the legs, and inhaling, bringing them back up, and hugging the legs into the body again. A big exhale, maybe a sigh to let go of some of that tension you might have built up. It will also help you release some heat that you're building up. So if you find yourself getting really warm in the practice, that's another way to cool things down. Now roll to your sides a little bit, just to massage the backside of the body. I often feel this around my shoulder blades and the sides of the hips. And then you're going to roll onto your side and come up into hands and knees. So if you're still wearing socks, this is a great time to take them off. And this will help you grab the mat with your feet a little easier. So as Francisco is demonstrating, you're going to bring your body into a quadruped position, hands and knees, where your wrists are right under your shoulders, knees right underneath your hips. Your spine is in its natural and neutral position. So it's long, especially the low back, but there's also a gentle curve right in that area of the sacrum and in the back of the neck. I just want you to feel that first and feel your head extending away from your tailbone. And as you exhale, see if you can brace that core again. So not a lot of movement, but those hip bones pulling in towards the center, the navel pulling into the spine. Now we'll add some movement. And then inhale, you're going to lift your tailbone as you start to arch your back. And you're looking up, relaxing the shoulders. As you exhale, you're going to let the head hang heavy as you round the back and pull your tailbone down towards your knees. Inhale, let the belly be soft as your tail lifts back and up. You look up. And as you exhale, the belly pulls into the body, even lifting up towards the spine. You get really round. We'll do about 3 or 4 more of these in your rhythm, connecting with your breath. Make sure your hands are spread nice and big. The bigger your hands, the more we distribute the weight through the whole hand, and all 10 fingertips will help take some pressure out of the wrists. It's one of my favorite poses, the cat and the cow, to mobilize the whole spine, which is really like the 5th limb of the body and helps us connect to all of our movement. Yoga is intrinsically concerned with the health and mobility of our spine. So we're going to make sure we get a good sense of how we're feeling in the spine before we get into more of our focused work today. We're going to add a little bit of side stretching here. So come back to a neutral position, shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. And you feel again the length and the curve of your spine at the end of your exhale. And then inhale, we're going to lengthen energetically. So the head moving away from the tail again. And on an exhale, you're going to squeeze your left shoulder towards your left hip. This is going to help you open the right side. Just squeezing, letting the hip also move towards the shoulder. And then inhale, coming back to neutral. And exhale, now the right shoulder will squeeze towards the right hip. Make sure that right hip is also moving in on that squeeze, helping you open the left side. Come back to neutral. Let's try that again once each side. On your exhale, we're compressing on the left to open on the right. And inhaling to neutralize. On the exhale, now squeezing that right hip, especially towards that right shoulder. Get a nice opening in the left side ribs. Come back to neutral. Now we're going to try a similar action, but more circular. The body really likes to move in fluid, round ways. So we're going to start on an exhale and squeeze to the left side again. And now really feel your tail and your head moving together. You're going to start to inhale and come back into that cow position with the arched back from there. And we're going around the circle now on your exhale, squeezing over to the right side. And from there, tucking the tailbone, finishing that exhale with a round back. So you're back in that angry cat position. Finishing in neutral. Let's try a circle again, that same direction. Squeezing on the left as you inhale, opening into that cow position. Tail and head moving together, exhaling, squeezing on that second side, and then finishing with the rounded back. Again, we're trying to get that whole 360 degree of motion. We're going to do one last circle in this direction. It's totally okay if it's not very circular here, or if there's some sticky spots, some tough areas, or maybe even a place where you just don't feel as connected to your whole integrated spine. But make sure you are staying connected to your breathing so that you're never pushing so hard that you can't take a full breath. And after that, next circle, pausing, and we're going to do it in the other direction. So on an exhale, we're going to start with that side squeeze to the right, and taking it into an inhale, rounding and transitioning into that arched back. The next exhale finishes the circle, and you're squeezing now the left side before finishing with a rounded back in the angry cat. You may have to play with your breathing rhythm, taking maybe a slower or more breaths there so that you can finish a whole circle in a way that connects to your breathing. We're moving from those side compressions and stretches into spinal flexion, and then again, a side compression on the other side into spinal extension. So try to get that whole transition, or those transitions, to connect with each other as fluidly as you can breathe. We'll do one last circle in that direction. Lovely. And then come to finish again in a neutral position, quadruped. Knees under the hips, shoulders over the wrists. And I'm going to ask Francisco to just walk forward about 2 hand lengths on his mat so he has room also for his legs. We're going to activate that core one more time. So wherever you are, go ahead and walk the right leg back until the right leg is fully extended. Make sure your hands are nice and big, using all 10 fingertips. And again, turn on your core right here as you notice your natural length and curves in your spine. You're going to keep that navel pulling into the body. And if this is not too wobbly already, go ahead and lift up that right leg. See if you can notice your hips. I'm going to try to get Francisco to bring those hips a little more level. Perfect. Doesn't really matter where your seat is sticking up, but you want to feel like those front hip bones, so the ones on either side and just below the navel, they're both facing the floor. As you do that belt cinching action again, push back through the right foot. So the whole right leg is active, connecting to that core support, and you're reaching forward with the top of your head, looking maybe just in front of your mat or at any point where you feel the length on all sides of your neck feels good. Breathe deeply here. See if you can relax the muscles around your eyes and your forehead. Good work. Now you could stay here, or you have the option also of doing some dynamic work using the legs and that flexion again, the tightening in of the spine. So either stay and work on balance this way, or for a little bit more challenge, lift that left arm up. Reach the thumb up to the ceiling. Relax the shoulder into the back. It's just a little bit more balance challenge, and it helps prepare us now to tuck into a little ball. So inhale, reach back through your foot, forward through the hand, and exhale. Go ahead and you don't have to grab the foot yet, but we're gonna tuck the knee towards the chest or towards the forehead as you bring your elbows and knee closer together. It's really challenging on the balance, so don't worry if you wobble or fall. Inhale, extend back out, right leg, left hand reaching away, but reaching out from your core. Very good. And exhale, bend the elbow and the knee together towards your center. Get round again. Perfect. Inhale, come back out. We're gonna do one more for good luck. Exhale, engaging that core, getting round, elbow and knee might meet, or even bringing the knee closer to the nose. And then inhale to extend. Get into the neutral spine position before you come back to all fours. Just pause for a moment and notice how that feels. So some people, I noticed my dad is one who likes to have sometimes a thicker mat, and that's really nice for your knees. If your knees need more support, you could always double up your mat. I think he's got plenty here, but one challenge of a softer support under you is that the hands, and especially all 10 fingertips, need to work more to take pressure off the wrist. When we have a lot of softness under the hands, we tend to dump weight into the wrists. So really make sure they stay big and symmetrical. When you're ready for the second side, walk that left leg back. Make sure you still have enough room. And just extend the leg. Activate the back side of that left leg as much as you can, as you also now connect to your core. You could stay here, especially if you're feeling much more challenged on this side or more tired. Or if you're ready, inhale, lift that leg such that you can balance your hips. So again, you want to feel both hip bones parallel to each other and facing the floor. Push back through that left heel as you spread the toes on the left foot. Notice your breathing. If this is already challenging, you might just stay here. If not, you want a little bit more balance challenge, go ahead and lift that opposite arm. So the right arm is going to lift up, the thumb facing up. But make sure that right shoulder is relaxed. So the shoulder blade kind of gently moves down into the upper back support. And you could stay here, also really good balance work. Especially if it's different or more difficult on this side, it's okay to modify. And if you want a little bit more, we're going to start to, on an exhale, bend the knee and the elbow, moving them into the body, closer towards each other. Really use that core. Good. Inhale, lengthen out. Breathe deeply. And exhale, let's get that squeeze going again. Knee and elbow moving together. Nice. Inhale to lengthen from the top of the head through your tail. Exhale one more time. Get as small as you can. Pull the navel in. Lovely. And inhale, come back out. Neutral. Really important to modify if you notice your balance is different on one side. It's a good catch. Come back to hands and knees. Spread your hands and now tuck your toes into the floor. So before we come up into our first down dog, we're just going to do one last core activation. I know you're loving it. So making sure your hands, and especially the middle fingers, reaching down and all the other fingers reaching out from your middle finger. On an inhale, you're going to lift your knees so your knees are the height of your heels. It doesn't have to be very much, maybe 5 centimeters, maybe 10. That's already more than you need. Come down a little bit, but engage your core. And now you're going to round your spine again a little more. Wow, perfect. Lifting that navel up towards your spine, up towards the ceiling. Breathe deep. I'm going to breathe here one more cycle of breath. And then go ahead and come down again, hands and knees. Do that one more time to see if the second time feels different, and maybe we can wake up a little bit more of the muscles of the core. So make sure your foundation is there. In this case, it's the balls and the toes of your feet and all 10 fingertips, and then the rest of the hand. The wrist is the comfortable base. So when you're ready, inhale, lift the knees up. It's again, maybe 5 centimeters, 2 inches is enough. Perfect. Just at the height of your heels or ankles. And then on an exhale, you're going to tuck into that ball again. Pull your tail towards your heels, towards your feet as you pull your navel up towards your back. Let the head move in towards your belly. I'm going to breathe deep here. One more cycle of breath. And this time on an inhale, you're going to lift your hips back and up and come up into downward facing dog. You might want to check your position again, making sure the hands still look big and symmetrical. Make sure your feet are parallel to each other such that you don't see the back of your foot. Bend your knees as much as you need to so that you can really lift those hips and get a nice extension in your lower back. Let your head hang heavy right there between your upper arms. And you may need to adjust the distance between your hands and feet, walking the feet or hands forward or back until you feel like you've really arrived at a stable, inverted V shape. One way to test this is to come into plank from this pose. So on an inhale, we're going to start to lengthen the spine as you send your body forward. And if you notice your shoulders have come beyond your wrists, then you needed a little more space. And then exhale, coming back into downward facing dog. Or take modified downward dog, which we'll come into one more time, as Francisco was showing. So on an inhale, activating your core, and you're going to move the whole body forward in a wave. Try to go slowly here. Feet stay grounded as you bring your torso and eventually the shoulders right over the wrists. Great. So you can walk your feet backwards a little bit, Francisco, and you'll keep your shoulders right where they are. And this may allow you to extend the body forward. You might even walk the hand, one half of a hand forward, just a little bit more. And then exhale, come back all the way into downward facing dog. Good stuff. See if you can get those shoulders again to relax away from the ears, shoulder blades moving into the upper back, head heavy, the neck is relaxed, breath is nice and deep. Bend your knees a little bit more and see if you can lift that tailbone a little bit more back and a little bit more up, especially using the base of your index finger, the tip of that finger, and all 10 finger points reaching out from there. From here, you're going to start to walk your feet towards your hands and even let the hands move back towards the feet, coming into a standing forward bend. Good job. Keep your knees as bent as you need to until your hands can easily touch the floor. This is not about your biggest forward bend here. This is going to be about making sure the back feels relaxed, like your upper body is hanging and resting over your legs. Now for that, we're going to need to make sure our legs are active. Start by looking at your feet. Make sure the toes are relaxed. Spread them as much as you can. Now the feet are parallel to each other and hip distance apart. I'm going to ask Francisco to now turn towards the camera a little bit. If he can just walk around. Also show that distance between the feet is about the distance of his hips. And he can measure that with both of his fists in between his feet. And even broaden a little bit if needed. And then the back of the foot, the inside of the heel, the outside of the heel, both of those sides reaching down equally as he spreads the toes, will help him activate now the whole legs. If the knees are moving inwards, if they've started to knock in, just notice that and try to keep the knees always exactly following your toes in the middle line of your foot. And bend the knees a little bit more and lift your hips up a little bit higher as you relax the whole back. Breathe deep. Soften the muscles of your face, especially your jaw. You could even open your jaw here, move your chin around in a circle in one way, and then the other. To come up, especially because we've been inverted for more than a minute, you're going to come slowly. So really unwind the spine as slow as you need, as slow as feels good. And we're going to start moving from standing poses and getting a little bit more movement and warmth. So as Francisco shows, a good time to take off a jersey if you're wearing it, a sweatshirt, and stand tall in your mountain pose. It's all the same alignment we've been paying attention to, true here. So your feet hip distance apart, knees following your toes. Now activate your legs a little bit more by spreading the toes and relaxing them. We're going to activate the upper legs by feeling where your knees are right now, and energetically see if you can pull your kneecaps upwards towards your hips. This will help you ground through your heels and turn on those big muscles of the upper legs, some of our biggest. And from there, reach your tailbone down as you lift your breastbone up. Even the pubic bone in the front, right up below those hip bones we started with, is pulling up and into the body. So our core is engaged to help us stand tall and easy. Taking another fullest, most relaxed breath you can here in mountain pose. And then coming to the top of your mat if you're not already there, and standing in mountain pose. And just warm up with a couple sun salutations before we get into our focus of shoulder and neck mobility. So go ahead and face the short side of your mat at the top. Good. And then on an inhale, reach your arms up. Look up. Exhale, fold forward, bending from your hips. You can also bend your knees as much as you need to. Inhale, we're going to step the right leg back, planting your hands on either side of that left foot. Exhale, step the left leg back, coming into plank. And again, the shoulders are over the wrists, but here you might also lower the knees down to the ground. And especially for the first chaturanga of the day, I like to do that to really feel how integrated my shoulders can be to that upper back support. And as I lower down on the next exhale, I want to make sure I feel the whole length of that spine again. So one line of energy. As you exhale, bend your elbows and keep them close to your body. As you lower down, release. Very nice. And move your hands back a little bit so their wrists exactly are under the elbows. Perfect. And then on an inhale, point your toes away from you, so that you can push the top of the feet down to the ground. As you inhale, you'll bring your torso, your head forward and up, a gentle cobra pose. Don't have to look up very high, but do make sure the back of your neck feels good. On an exhale, drop the chin to the chest. As you engage those core, you're going to lift your hips up into downward facing dog. Remember to listen to your body and follow your breath. When you're ready, on an inhale, the right leg is going to come forward all the way between your hands. And if it doesn't reach on its own, use your hands to help it or walk it a couple steps. On an exhale, you're going to bring that back foot to meet the front foot, forward bend. And to come up, again, we can unroll the spine. We'll do this in about one breath. So feel the way that the spine stacks on top of each other, one vertebra at a time. On your exhale, open the hands to face forward as you stand tall in your mountain. Just feel that. When you're ready, repositioning if you need to, at the front of the mat. On an inhale, reach up, looking up. A gentle back bend, strong legs. Exhale, fold forward from your hips. Inhale the left leg back, taking a high lunge here. Exhale the right leg back. We're back in plank, shoulders over the wrists. Engage that core as you reach your tailbone a little bit more towards your heels. Nice. And then again, on this next chaturanga, you might want to lower your knees first. If that really helps you feel the shoulders strong and lowering the whole body down one line of strength. Come down onto your belly in the prone position and just lie there for a second. It's a nice way to feel the support of the earth and a gentle massage in your visceral organs in the front side of the body. Point the toes when you're ready. And engage your base. Here it's the tail of the cobra. Wrist is right under the elbows, elbows pulling in towards the center of your body. Inhale, come forward and up with your head, with your torso, lifting your heart. Exhale, release the chin towards the chest as you engage the core again and lift your hips up and back for downward facing dog. On the inhale, the left leg leads, coming all the way forward between the hands, using any support you need. So you're there in the high lunge on the other side. On the exhale, the right foot comes up to meet it, standing forward bend. Another way to come up here, you could of course roll, or you can bend your knees more until your hips are the height of your knees, lowering your seat down, and with very strong legs, knees following the toes, you're gonna lengthen the whole back on the strength of your legs and lift your back up one long line of energy. So you really gotta lower those hips and use the legs, the shoulders in the upper back as you lift the whole back up and stand tall in your mountain pose. Exhale, arms by your side, hands facing forward, Tadasana. Great. I'm gonna go through one more time each side in your pace. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, the right leg back, high lunge. Front knee right over the ankle. Exhale, bring that front leg back for plank or plank on your knees. Make sure you can feel the core and the length of your spine. As you exhale, bend the elbows by your side and lower your torso all the way between your arms. Rest your body on the floor. Point your toes. And you're going to push down with the top of your feet so much that your knees lift up. You feel the engagement in your core, and inhale, lift up for a baby or a big cobra. Depends on how you're feeling and how you're breathing. Exhale, release the chin to the chest, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Inhale, the right leg comes forward. Get the knee right over the ankle, take your time, and then exhale, step that back foot forward, forward bend. Your choice how to come up. Let's see if you can do the movement in one breath, unrolling or dropping the hips to chair and standing tall, mountain pose. Exhale, taking at least a breath to just settle and feel. Inhale. Reach up, look up, shoulders stay relaxed. Exhale, bend from the hips, forward bend. Inhale, the left leg leading on the second side, high lunge. Exhale, the front leg joining it, high plank or a high push-up position, or with the knees down. Exhale, lower the whole body down. And release. Point the toes. Engage that cobra tail as you inhale, coming forward and up. Bhujangasana. Lovely chest opener and really great strength for our upper back here. Exhale, lower down. And inhale, come back up for downward facing dog. Use that core, lift the hips. On the next inhale, that left leg steps forward. And on the exhale, the right leg comes to meet it. Inhale, coming up one more time through a rolling or chair action. Exhale, stand tall in your mountain. Knees are easy, toes are relaxed, your legs, your base is strong here as you reach up through your heart and the crown of your head. Relax your chin, so it's nice and parallel to the ground. I'm going to ask Francisco to turn again and face the camera. So we're just going to do a little bit of targeted work now in the upper body. Go ahead and start to just roll your shoulders together. Works, but if one shoulder feels much more difficult than the other, you could target one shoulder at a time. Your legs stay active, your breath stays deep here, but this is about easy movement through both shoulders, either together or one at a time. And then pause and rotate in the other direction. Keeping that chin nice and parallel. The neck is long. You could even close your eyes here if that helps you feel inward a little more easily. Great. When you're ready, from this mountain pose where the feet are hip distance apart, go ahead and bring your legs together as if you had one leg. The knees stay easy here, so never want to lock the knees when you're standing. If you could turn on your legs, it's going to help us in this side bend. On you inhale, bring your arms up overhead and interlace your fingers. Just notice which finger's on top. You can go ahead and point your first fingers. It's called Shiva's sword here. And what we're going to do is stretch the left side of the body by bending to the right. So on an exhale, he's going to bend exactly towards the right side, pushing down through that left heel just a little bit more for stability. Very nice. And then notice your shoulders in your side bend. Notice if one shoulder has gone more forward, usually it's that left one if you're bending to the right. And your hips also staying parallel, facing both forward. Breathe deep here. See if you can lengthen both sides of your body on your inhale. And as you exhale, you might stay there or just soften, go a little bit deeper. To come out on an inhale, engage the core, come on up. And then exhale, if you want, you can switch the clasp of your hands. So now the other finger's on top. And then exhale, side bend to the left, opening up the right side body, and especially those intercostal muscles between your armpit and the lowest ribs. Using the right heel a little bit more actively will help you stay grounded here. And use your inhales to try to lengthen even that compressed sides, even though we're squeezing on the left side. See if you can breathe into that. Might help you also get more length on the right side where we're stretching. One more breath to either soften and stay where you are on the exhale, or maybe go a little deeper. And then inhale, come back up, engage that core. Exhale, release your hands. And now take a very wide base through the feet, wider than your hips, maybe as wide as your hands are when you spread your arms, spreading your wings, which we're going to do next. So we're going to take from easy shoulder circles to full arm circles here. Start small and just rotate your whole arm in small circles. See what parts of your shoulder and also around the neck you can notice are moving here. If it feels good, you can start to make the circles bigger. But if you feel any difficulty, and especially any sort of pulling, twinging, or very sharp sensations through either arm or shoulder, just stay in a range of motion that feels fluid and easy. If you can, and it's easy to make the circle so big that your arms can cross over in front of each other, you can start to alternate which arm goes first as they cross, keeping the legs active, keeping your breath deep, lifting your heart as you rotate through your shoulders, and take a full breath. We'll pause and then try the circles in the other direction. So start small again, wings out wide, and making the smallest circles that feel completely round, completely easy. This direction might be different, so if it is, please notice that. Again, do your best to stabilize your base so you can stand really tall and breathe very freely. Eventually, you might make the arm circles bigger. It's very optional, but if it feels good, make your circles so wide, and you could take it into alternating arms again, for a little bit of brain training. Slowing it down, and then standing tall in your mountain pose. We're going to take that forward bend again as we prepare to start cooling things down, coming down to the ground. But before you do that, can you come back up and turn to the side? You're going to bring your hands behind your back and interlace them behind your back. this is really difficult, you could just grab your elbows instead. So I'm gonna make sure you're standing tall in your mountain and breathing broadly, especially now across the back of your upper back. Taking deep breaths here. And then on an exhale, folding forward, bending your hips into a forward bend with hands clasped behind your back or holding your elbows if that's better. If your hands are clasped behind your back, make sure they're not resting on your sacrum or your tailbone, but you're going to start to move the elbows or start to move your hands away from your back. Make sure your legs stay strong. Make sure your neck stays long. And make sure you maintain a full and deep breath. This is a really great one to kind of celebrate the shoulder-neck conjunction, a lot of things coming together in this part of the body. Take one more breath here, possibly moving the back of your hands closer to the back of your heads. And then exhale, releasing your hands, forward bend, and inhale, coming back up. I'm gonna do one more variation there for the shoulders that I love, did recently. So I'll ask Francisco to face forward. And now you're gonna rest your elbows by your sides and clasp your hands in front of you. So oftentimes we get this instruction in yoga to bring the shoulder blades closer together, but that's not really unnatural action. What I've found is, for me, easier and supports a fuller yogic breathing. So I want you to feel how you're breathing now and remember how you were breathing at the beginning of class. With your elbows resting by your side, your neck is long, standing tall. I want you to see if you can bring your shoulder blades now to the opposite side of the opposite hip. So your back of your left shoulder blade is moving down as you clasp your hands towards that right hip on the back, and the right shoulder blade is moving towards the left hip. Stay neutral, stay standing tall, and you're gonna keep the hands clasped and start to pull the hands away from each other while you maintain that action of the right shoulder blade moving down into the left shoulder blade moving down into the right. So you're gonna try to keep the front sides of your shoulders relaxed, keeping the hands clasped, and you use this opposing action of pulling against the clasp while you're engaging the shoulder blades in the back. See if you can find your fullest breath there. 2 more breaths. Make sure the knees are easy, your legs are strong. Stand up as tall as your breath allows in this mountain. And exhale, release. Really good. Okay, let's come back down to the floor. Come down in any way that feels good. See if you can come down without your hands. And go ahead and come to rest on your back. I'm going to take a gentle twist here before one final gentle back bend and settling in. So for this twist pose, a couple options. First, you could open your feet as wide as your mat and just take the windshield version of the twist. That's where you let both knees wave over to the right side and wave over to the left side as you exhale, using your inhales to come back to neutral. So this is a more dynamic, more fluid, and maybe a more gentle twist for you. To take the twist a little bit deeper, you can bring your knees together, feet together, and trying to keep the knees together as best they can. Bring your arms out wide like a letter T. And you're going to let the knees fall over together towards the floor, or just continue waving your knees as long as it feels good. Now, if your knees are together, make sure your shoulders stay heavy towards the floor. This one can also be done dynamically or just staying and hang out in the twist for another breath before coming up to neutral. And then exhale, we'll take at least 3, if not 4 or more breaths on the second side. Twists a really great way to activate the parasympathetic part of the body, the nervous system that helps the body calm down, to encourage resting, processing and digesting. So really just notice how you're breathing here and how you're feeling. So after your twist feels good, come back to resting on your back and bringing your knees right over your heels. So you want to measure that distance using your hand. Make sure you can barely touch the back of your heel. And here, your knees should be right above the heels at a hip distance apart. That's where we want to keep them. Bend your elbows so that your hands are now vertical, right above your elbows. It's called robot arms with the hands facing inwards. Make sure the back of the head is resting on the floor, but really important not to look around in this pose. You want your neck to feel long, but never twisting, never pinched when we come up into a bridge. So on an inhale, we're going to start without moving the hips and just using the upper body lift and support. So on an inhale, you're going to push the elbows and the shoulders down. Even the back of the head pushes down to the ground. So there's not a lot of movement, but you should feel a lot of engagement in the upper body. Breathe deep, exhale, and release that. Just feel the difference. So the full bridge is the same thing, but now we'll lift the hips. On an inhale, the back of the arms, elbows, and shoulders pushes down as you lift your hips. You'll want to engage that core. And again, reach that tailbone away from your head as you reach your knees forward away from your forehead. Breathe deep. And as you come out, we're going to exhale and unroll the spine, lowering the upper back before the middle back. And finally, the lowest part of your back is last. Lovely. Okay. Feel free to bend your knees and hug them into your body again. Give yourself some love. Notice again how you feel. With your knees over your hips, do one last squeeze, one last activation for your whole center. Bring the knees right where we started. You can hold the backs of your legs if that helps. Inhale, extending the spine. As you exhale, you're going to lift your forehead towards your knees. So you're going to crunch up into a ball with your knees right over the hips. We're moving towards that ball shape again. Keep that ball as you inhale, lengthen the tail away from the head. And one more time, we're going to squeeze a little bit more, belly pulling in, forehead lifting up, and come out with an easy breath. Very nice. All right, good job. So you've arrived in a great place to get comfortable and to settle down. We're settling into our final resting pose. So if you need anything to get more comfortable for that, like some warmth, like a layer, a blanket, maybe even a sip of water. We're going to be resting here for about 2.5 minutes. So give yourself everything you need that you can fully release for that time. Make any adjustments that you need to get comfortable. Sometimes putting some cushion, some support underneath the knees can be a nice way to, again, encourage the lower back to relax, softening the area around the front of the hips. If you're resting in Shavasana, like Francisco is, you want to bring your arms exactly where he has them, just by your sides, but with a little bit of space between your body and your arm for the underarm area to have some freedom. The head and neck right in line with the center line of you. And again, that chin is either at the height of the forehead or tuck your chin a little bit closer to your heart. So it's even a little bit lower to get that nice extension in the back of the neck. If your legs are out long, you want to let the feet be heavy, the toes falling open to the sides. And once more, fine-tune your comfort. Adjust your position in any small ways you need to. That now for about the next 2 minutes, you can allow your whole body to settle and relax. When I get into that position, you can just be there where you don't feel the need to change anything. relaxing your feet and your toes. Notice how you feel in your lower legs and your knees. Soften your upper legs, your hips, your pelvis. Observe the length of your entire spine and feel the weight of your torso on the floor. Breathing through your entire body and the length of your spine, and with your exhales, allowing the weight of your body to rest a little heavier towards the floor. Notice your shoulders and see if you can soften the front side of your shoulders, the top side of your shoulders, the back side of your shoulders. Relax. Let this easy, relaxed feeling wash over your arms as you soften your wrists, relax your hands, letting the fingertips be gentle and relaxed. And bring your attention again into your neck, your head, and soften all of the muscles of your face. Soften your eyebrows and all around your eyes. Allow your lips and your mouth to rest peacefully. Allow your tongue to be heavy in the bottom of your mouth. And then bring your attention once again to your breathing, perhaps at the tip of your nose, where you can observe the breath, or anywhere else in the body where you're easily able to follow the rise of each inhale and the fall of each exhale. And for the next few moments, simply allow your full attention to rest in your natural breath. Wonderful. When you're ready, slowly start to deepen your breathing. And only when you feel ready, when the body feels light and energized, you start to wake up your physical body with this fresh, oxygenated blood, making small movements that eventually get bigger, moving in any way that just feels sweet, just feels nice. If you want to stretch the whole body one more time, you can reach the arms overhead. Keep those shoulders relaxed as you reach from your fingers, maybe all the way through the toes. And then exhale and release before bending your knees and rolling over onto your right side. Just resting for a minute on your side in the fetus pose is a really nice way to, again, ground the whole effects of your practice in your lived experience right here, right now. And as you're ready, coming up carefully into any comfortable seated position. Just taking a moment to observe the effects of your practice as you sit up tall and easy. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your practice with us. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste.